Hello everyone! When simulating a model in Simulx, you may have noticed this column Shared IDs in the tab Simulation, in which boxes are sometimes displayed and can be ticked. Let me explain when they appear and what it is about. In our Feature of the Week video number 115, we have seen that when you have defined an element with an external table of values, such as this table of covariates, Simulx provides different options to sample individual values from the table to produce simulated individuals, either with keep order, sample with replacement, or sample without replacement. For example, simulating a group of size 5 with the option Sample with Replacement will use up to 5 covariate rows sampled randomly from the table. If several elements are defined with external tables, for example with a table of covariates and a table of individual doses, the same sampling option is then applied to all tables, and two boxes appear in the column Shared IDs to choose whether the sampling is common or independent. By default, the boxes are unchecked, and the sampling is done independently for each table. In this case, the values in the column IDs of the two tables can be different, and for example, the first simulated individual can have covariate values coming from ID 6 in the covariate table, and a dosing regimen taken from ID B in the treatment table. Each row from all external tables can be sampled even if the tables have different sizes. Note that the sampled covariates can be seen directly in the results in the interface, while the sampled doses can be found in a text file named doses.txt in the result folder in the subfolder Simulation. When the box's shared IDs are ticked, the sampling is then common for both tables and requires having common ID values. The intersection of IDs in the tables is done, and IDs that are not present in all tables are ignored. In this example, only the rows with ID 1 to ID 6 can be sampled. In case of an empty intersection, the simulation returns an error. The same sampling is then applied to these IDs in both tables, which means that if the first simulated individual has covariate values coming from ID 4, then it also uses the dosing regimen from ID 4. If the keep order sampling option would have been chosen, Simulx would take the 5 first individuals of the intersection, so ID 1 to ID 5. The Shared IDs option is useful when external tables that have related information are used for the simulation. For example, in the demo project named Shared ID that you can load from the folder Simulation, individual dosing regimens are defined in these elements as an external table, and the dose amount depends on the patient weight. The patient weights are also defined as a covariate element because weight is a covariate effect on the volume of the central compartment, so values of weight are required to simulate individual volumes. It is also an external table with the same IDs as for the treatment. If the dependency of the treatment on weight is simple, such as amount per kilogram body weight, it can be defined directly in the user interface using the option Scale by Covariate. But if the dependency is more complex, using external tables can be useful. In this case, it is important to match a sample from the treatment element with a sample from the covariate element. And it is done by ticking the boxes in the Shared IDs column for both elements. Finally, the Shared IDs is also convenient after importing a Monolix project into Simulx if you want to reuse elements from the original dataset, as in the demo project, Import from Monolix Resimulate project. Here, the elements selected by default for treatment, output, and covariates are all external tables that have been automatically derived from the dataset modeled in Monolix. Since the Shared IDs boxes are ticked by default, the simulation will use matched samples from all tables to resimulate the original dataset with the same design. See you next week!